Hello everyone. Wishing you all a very pleasant afternoon on behalf of Digisaksham. I would like to extend my warm welcome to everyone present here. My name is Sambhavna Goswami and I am your host for today's webinar. We are all here for a webinar on HR series topic HR best practices organized by Digisaksham. Digisaksham is an initiation of SEMS group which has developed content for over 300 courses in multiple languages, which ranged from 4 hours to 6 months in various sectors of IT, BFSI, retail, and entrepreneurship for all age groups from school children, youth, professionals, and senior citizens. Digisaksham has also conducted more than 100 webinars, 10 FDPs, and workshops and 6 international conferences. Digisaksham impacted more than 15,000 plus lives through latest webinar conferences and workshops, seminars across the globe. Further moving with the topic of today's webinar, HR best practices are set of human resources, management processes and actions that work universally. Best practices lead to superior business performance. According to its proponents, there are certain bundles of HR activities that support companies in reaching a competitive advantage regardless of the organizational setting or industry. To guide us all through this topic, we have with us Ms. Sonal Arora. Ms. Sonal Arora is a diligent and experienced professional with over 20 plus years across various facets of HR management, including HR operations, talent management, employee engagement, team management, hiring administration, headcount management, HR compliance, performance management, OSH, leadership investigations, HR data management, succession planning, and competency mapping. She is spearheading as Vice President HR at Compunal Incorporation and is focused on creating people and organizational impact. Welcome now, with immense pleasure, I would like to call upon Ms. Sonal Arora. Please, ma'am.
Hello. Thank you so very much, Sambhavna, for the introduction. Thank you so very much. Hello, everyone, for all of you who are attending this nationally and internationally. I think it's a great privilege for me for calling and coming onto this platform by Digisaksham. I think we're talking about a HR series, and I think nothing can start the HR series other than what we are facing currently in today's world. And I would like to take on the questions. The world today has changed a lot. In last 2 years, it has evolved itself. The entire HR dynamics has changed in itself. If you ask me, given where we are currently standing, will our previous past HR practices will help us? The answer is no. It's not going to help us. That's the fact that we all have to accept. What's going to help is the new evolved HR, the new the newly defined HR formats is going to help you. The new strategic thinking, the way we could engage people is going to help you. With this entire session, I kind of build up an impactful 7 practices of HR in today's world. What I look at from my specs for 2022 is having an HRMS and a digitized model. Whatever we are doing as HR, there have been times that we've been stuck as organizations with paperwork, with people in present, people in office. The HRMS, which is your entire digitization format where you could maintain their entry, their exit. Today, everyone would want to apply for any job posting through one click. And that's how the power of HRMS is. A lot of organizations are following it, but I think some of them believe whether to buy it from outside or to create it from inside. If you ask me, I would rather suggest to create an HRMS from inside. Digitization, why this is important? Because all the paperwork that we would do for an employee, whichever part of the country you are, there are tons of HR paperwork that's required at the time of onboarding, offboarding, during your journey as an employee life cycle. Many a times there are letters which are required, performance management system for that matter, no longer has to be done on paper. It's been the story, and no longer has to be one-to-one. It has to be entire formulated in a platform where you would know what you want for your people. To me, that's digitization. The other thing that I would want to call about, what has changed significantly in this last 2 years, is also about the employee experience. There have been times where as HR, people were more concerned for attrition. Yes, people are still concerned. The HR fraternity is still concerned about the attrition part of it. But what's important is how to keep people, the talent that you have brought in the system, how would you retain them, engage them? To me, if you ask, every bit of what you do in dealing with people, as a leader, I can say this. When you work with your team, what is that one thing that you can make a change is that impact, the experience that you give to people. Whatever is the query, whether it is simple, complex, escalation, not an escalation, as simple as having one letter from HR. If you ask me, this is what I would say as a new HR refined for 2022 and so on and so forth, will be that every transaction that employee does with HR, how to make an impact in every transaction. To me, that's an employee experience, because today, in today's world, everyone is wanting to go for experiences. They don't want what they pay. They want whatever they pay, whether big, small, they want experience. That experience side of it is what creates an impact, that creates to me, that creates a perception, that creates a judgment, that creates an assessment, whether this organization's culture is focused toward people or not just by writing that we are an organization which is people first. Every transaction that anyone who is working in your organization has to have that employee experience, and that experience has to be fantastic. The third most important thing that I can talk about is the virtual engagement and retention. It's no longer calling people for office parties, for taking them for meeting rooms, focus groups. I think that human connect somewhere is getting diluted. I think when we started 1.5 years back, when after pandemic, when offices opened, or during pandemic when we were there, the biggest thing was how to engage them. What is that as HR could have done differently in creating an engagement? Trust me, when there have been a lot of organization, and if you ask me personally also, there have been times when while interacting with people, while doing virtual engagements, whenever we were hosting sessions, my team were hosting sessions, there were people who would come at around 100 number, a 50 number, a 200 number. The biggest challenge was to call, how do we get that excitement and bring at least 1,000 people on a platform with continuous effort, with continuous thinking, with continuous engagement, the continuous drive that we always wanted to put people into that, by saying that let's come and attend it, see what difference can it make. As simple as, we never realized, as simple as doing any dance activity or a yoga could bring engagement in people. But when we started to do, when we started to put on the yoga sessions, a lot of people realized that, okay, this is something I would want, because during the pandemic, a lot of extended hours people were contributing. As an employee, they were contributing. So I think they wanted to do certain lot of exercises while sitting on the chair. So I have never heard in my past called chair yoga, but this was the first time when I was hearing chair yoga. So these are some of the things that will help you. I'm trying to tell you the 7 impactful things that you could do as the best HR practices for 2022. One is HRMS and digitization, which is HR management system. A lot of organizations call that as HRIS also. HRMS, which is human resource management system, and digitization, so that your transactions can be taken care of. If you ask me, a lot of organizations also think about, how do we quantify HR? There, as an organization, you get too many transactions. But if someone has to ask as HR head, that how are you quantifying? What is that you are ensuring that every resource that you are investing in or deploying in the company is engaged for 8-9 hours? To quantify that, an HRMS transaction of queries is a mandate. Digitization combined together is a mandate. The second is employee experience, to which I'm saying that whatever we do, whatever as an organization we do, every transaction has to be impactful. It's no longer saying that, okay, I don't have an answer, go to that person. I don't have an answer, go to that person. it's no longer going to help anyone. An impactful transaction is that how do you know how to do a cold transfer and how to do a warm transfer between interdepartments? As HR is, we are interrelated, interdepartmental dependencies are there. We may not have the answers to those questions, but you should know how to do a warm transfer between interdepartments, create those impactful interactions with people, as simple as having one letter and as difficult as an investigation as it could be. Because if the investigations are not done on time, the action planning that you wish to do for them will lose its interest. The third is virtual engagement and retention, to which I was referring. These are the three things that I've spoken about by now: HRMS digitization, employee experience, and virtual engagement and retention. Virtual engagement is necessary in today's world because we never know when the COVID wave 4 will hit us. Virtual pattern or the hybrid pattern is the new norm, and it will always be. When I see from my specs, if you ask me, when I see it from my lens, we have to think innovative ideas. We as an organization will have to think as innovative ideas. We as HR leader of the fraternity will have to think in innovative ideas, that how do we ensure that every employee who joins our organization feels motivated, feels excited, says that this is the organization I'm working with. That's something my organization is doing different. What is your organization doing to ensure that you are? I mean, if you ask me, as simple as that, we conducted comedy sessions. We invited comedians to do engagement activities. As simple as that, we called a Bollywood singer to do an engagement activity for our people. Because trust me, at this point in time, while people are working from home, they are somewhere tired of their regular monotonous jobs that they are doing. They want that excitement. Okay. The fourth is about the data centricity. If you ask me, any organization who is not focused on the data, who is not calibrating, who is not thinking what the data is saying, because data is the fact of the day. Whatever I may say, these are just subjective, and you need that objectivity in your work as HR to be able to take strategic decisions for yourself, for the organization. Because as an HR person, if you're not related, if you keep your back towards the data, you are not progressing. You are stagnant. Wherever you are, you can do fantastic, but you will not progress. To be able to make that progress in whatever that you do, you need that data centricity in your mind. When I say data centricity, I'm also saying being analytical. As simple as that. We as people, when we are looking at the attrition analysis, attrition data that we are looking at, it is very important. Not only the percentages that we see, we also will be required to do a lot many correlations between the one factor or the other factor. As simple as that, when I say that any correlation that would say that my people who have spent 2 years in the system are leaving because of X reasons. This is one analysis. The second analysis would say that X reason is dependent on that Y reason. That interdependencies we will have to figure out, because maybe what you are seeing right in your face, that X reason could be because of a Y reason. So you may not be required to fix the X, but you may be required to fix that Y reason. So that data centricity, that analytical mindset, that play with numbers, as an HR person, you will be required to have. To me, that's one of the HR best practices, because you cannot survive without this. You cannot survive with the fact. You cannot survive with the data. You cannot survive with knowing what's happening in the system, and do that evaluations, that correlations with various other aspects of what people are saying about. The fifth important point as an HR practice, if you ask me, is about bot implementations. We have been hearing about robotics. Yes, if you ask me, have I delivered robotics in HR implementations? Yes, I have. The basic crux and why, and two things: why and how. Why will HR need a robot? Because HR is more of human interface, right? Why and how. Why it will it need? I told you. How will it need is again aligning the technical part of teams with the HR. Bot implementations, whenever there is a bot that we would want to implement for in any organization, the first and the foremost thing that we all have to do is an evaluation of the task, evaluation of the activities that are redundant in nature. When I say redundant, means repeated in nature. If you deploy any employee doing that redundant regular work, day in, day out for 9 hours will get monotonous and boring. And that is the time robotics come into picture. Anything that you want to put into robotics has to be redundant in nature, because a robot cannot think. That's the whole issue. That's the key that you will identify, that why would you need a robot and what is the place that you can deploy a robot. A bot can help you any task. If you ask me, we implemented in one of my organizations, we implemented two bots. One bot was giving out address proof letters, giving out bank loan letters, telling other people this person has worked in our company, background verification checks. If an organization that you're working which has a magnitude of 10,000, 13,000 current organization size, which is about an alumni of about 40,000 people, trust me, every organization that they will change every time there is a background request which is coming to you saying that did this company, did this individual work with you or not. Very, very monotonous, very, very redundant task. And trust me, when we introduced two bots, we replaced two people. They were not out of the system, they were in the system, but those two human people were doing more challenging work that they could have delivered than doing that regular monotonous job. That's the place you realize that why do you need a bot and how do you need the bot. How do you need the bot? There are various tools available. We use UiPath and things like that that you could also use. There are various free versions. If you have a technical team supporting with you, you can do fantastic. Tell them your requirement. When we started about thinking, it was about 2 years back from now. When bot was implemented, we were thinking, okay, we did this, and we reduced each transaction that every individual that was doing for 15 minutes got reduced to 3 minutes. You will be far more surprised. We further improvised it and reduced it to 40 seconds. When I say bot, we had to just come, switch on the laptop or switch on the desktop, and the mails would start to go, the checks would start to perform, everything. You know how many activities, how many checks that bot was performing? 110 activities that bot was performing to ensure that before the mail is released out, all the checks and balances are taken care in place before the information goes out. So that's what I'm trying to say, that how important is it to how important it is, the way we are seeing the world, the way people want to experience us, and the way we want to operate. The way people want to experience us is very fast, digitized. They don't have time, they want everything on their phone in a click. But if you continue to operate as an HR in the old conventional style, because that's how HR has been operating and there is no scope of change, I'm sorry, you are done and dusted in the industry. So to be remaining competitive, these are some of the things that you should know. The sixth most important thing, as an HR practitioner, you should be very, very good at communications. When I say communications, not that verbal speak. When I say communications, means how to benchmark yourself within people, because when they have problems, actual people problems with the managers, with their team members, they should see you as a solution, right? They should have that trust in you, that if I go to this individual, this person will be a neutral third party, will operate between the management and the organization, and will be able to give me some insightful solutions that nobody has given so far. Along with this, communications to a magnitude of internal and external. So you should know what your sales function is as an organization wanting to make as a strategy to bring external customers in place. Okay, that's how you could bridge with the people who are in the system, and with the vision that the organization is keeping, you will be able to bridge them. So you need to be very, very good with external side of the communication. Keep your eyes, ears open, so that you know as an organization where are we heading to. Internal communications, why this is important? Because you cannot talk to them every time. If you are working in an organization which is 1,000, 2,000 an employee and at virtual setup, you cannot interact with them at every point in time. There has to be brilliant way, a process oriented way of doing internal communications, which is impactful. People wait for it, and then when a communication is made, they say, okay, this is the impact it's creating. Just don't tell them that you have to do this or you have to do that, or this is how the culture will be, or this is how we are going to do. Explain them the reasons why and how is it going to impact them. Because when you sell anything with a logic, with a rationale, I am sure people as an employee do understand. One of the very important things that I learned in my total experience was when we were creating internal communications in these organizations that I worked in past. A lot of the time they said, why do we need to write this last sentence? For any questions, reach out to this or that team, or reach out to this person or that person. Why do we need to do that? It will just bring in so many questions. But that's what the essence is. We cannot be picture perfect in our communications. There will be scope of questions, there will be scope of clarifications. It is very, very important to the person whom you are designating the responsibility of coming back with questions, should be convinced, should have complete knowledge of what they are doing, why this communication went out, what is the vision they have, what is the change they want to bring. That individual should be in sync with the management decision. Because if someone has written that X person is go to X person and that X person is lost himself or herself, how do we expect that X person to solve the question and the clarification? That's where your internal communication is defeated. And trust me, slowly it does not give you an immediate impact, but it does give you a long-term impact, because slowly and gradually people will stop looking at the internal communications. They will say, oh, these are many mails, they keep coming, nobody knows what they are doing, it's all right, and they will start ignoring you. As an HR, this is one thing that we need to understand. We don't have to go too much, too many, we don't have to go too less. We have to have a balanced approach when we are doing any kind of communication. The seventh most important thing is the talent crunch. We as HR professionals, we know 2021 was announced as the great resignation year. 2022, the market has become so hot that if anyone says, I have a notice period of 30 days or 90 days, we know this person is not going to come back to us, because within this 60 days, 30 days, 90 days, they will have at least 5 offers in hand. It's the people who are jumping one to the other, to the other, to the other. It's the same set of people. What we are not doing, or what as HR, what we need to do is to develop that talent, curate that talent. And I don't know how many of you would have heard some of these jargons which says hire, train, deploy, or campus to corporate, such programs, because in many countries there are hundreds of new talent which is coming. The biggest challenge which I am hearing from the managers who are hiring them is saying it is very difficult to train freshers. It is very difficult to train people in the virtual setup, because we don't know what they are doing. They have so many questions. How do we help them? So the hiring managers don't want freshers. There are hundreds of freshers who are coming in the market but not getting placed at the right place. So to bridge that gap, the first and the foremost thing is to develop curate various talent strategies with which you could tap these. I am not saying 100% of them will stay with you. If you have a success rate of 60% of, or if you as an organization is wanting to invest in the training of such people who are freshers, wanting to learn more committed, they are still in that space where they want someone to invest on them, polish them. If you have a strategy to do that, I think you are in the right direction. Because today's world, experienced people, experienced resources are switching one job to the other, or they are being complacent of being where they are, and they do not want to challenge their status. They feel very comfortable. They don't want to take a risk, because in this pandemic environment, they are very subtle. They don't want to make a change. So the psychology of resources is changing very fast. The psychology of HR has to change very fast, because if you're not aligned, you are lost and you will be lost. So that's my say, that Sambhavna, that some of these 7 impactful HR practices that I thought will be good for people to know. And I can open the forum now for questions, or if there are anything that I want that they would want to interact with.
Ma'am, there is one question. Where there are no bots, how do we manage monotony?
How do we manage monotonous? Okay, then I would strongly recommend put a tool in place that tracks the number of queries that come into the picture. Sooner or later, robot is the solution. Even if you deploy 10 people, this is not going to solve the purpose. You could have tools that can, so if I have to just call out a few of these tools, and I'm not sponsoring them, but just calling out some of these tools, some of them that I have worked on is Lotus Notes tracking system, Outlook tracking system, ServiceNow tracking system, where the ticketing based system can come handy to you, because by that you could at least have the transactions. And I will suggest you that in such scenario, every ticket should be rooted to different set of people or a team or an individual, because then that person becomes a specialist of that, and then you can swap it after some time with some other thing, but that specialty has been gained, and then that person can think if a digitization can be done. But bot is the future, you cannot deny with that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you enumerate the 7 practices?
Okay, so first I said is HRMS and digitization. The second is employee experience. The third is virtual engagement and retention. The fourth is data centricity for strategic decision making. The fifth is bot implementation to reduce redundancies. Sixth is internal and external communication. Seventh is talent curation, a mix of strategies to engage the talent. Now, this is something I have created for this session. Don't believe that this is something that is already available or it's published somewhere. I've just made my notes before this session that while I'm talking about these 7 practices, and I can send it on the chat a little later also, but the whole idea which I thought that just not by talking about best practices, why not I put my own what I've learned throughout my journey in 20 years, and this is the sum of it, which is what I've got on place for you, that what we are currently struggling, what we are currently evaluating, what we are currently bringing as solutions to some of our problems is something is what I wanted to share. But yes, I will put it on the chat so that you could relate to it. But I was more of a discussion that is there anything that I kind of missed out, any question that you have to ask for me in terms of best practices, because in 2022 you need to be cognizant of all of this. If you are not, then it's difficult to survive in the HR fraternity, not as an HR person, but more from a people person.
Yes, ma'am. What can be the best strategy to level up hiring for different vacancies at a time?
Level up meaning that you want to increase the inflow. If that is so, then you should use more of job boards like we use in India, a Naukri and others. So you could use LinkedIn for that matter as a job board recruiting. That's something that you could increase. The second is about your presence in social media. As an organization, you should always ensure that you run out campaigns on the social media for people to apply, and you should have a central repository for yourself where the data or the CVs can be kept with you, so that at any given point in time this can be utilized. But trust me, today I have seen there's a big shift in what people are doing when they are joining the organization. They want to come with experience and they want to come with relationship. They would like to go with recruiters with whom they have worked in past or who they have placed in past. So if you have a relationship, you can do a better hiring, and you could also be able to do a headhunt, because that's what they want to hear, that how good is the organization, why should I join. Like I said, use more of ways by which you could publicize on social media, run out campaigns, so that people in the bigger audience get to see social media, use LinkedIn, use various other job boards to publish the postings. But trust me, like I said, a lot of people are changing their minds. They would want to go with recruiters who have worked with them in past or who have placed them in past. They would like to have the real insight of the organization. Otherwise they will come in the organization and they will swiftly go away. The another biggest challenge that HR is facing is about early attrition, that is within 6 months. Nobody has a patience to say that, okay, let me spend some time, see the organization, how things are going. Within 1-2 months they will make up their decisions and they are out of the system. So it's either do or die. So you need to ensure that whatever you as a recruiter is selling to as a company culture, it should be accurate and not made up.
Ma'am, what do you think is a good employee?
What do I think is a good employee?
Yes.
If you ask me, I think an employee should ask questions, ask people, challenge the comfortableness of any organization. They should be adhering to the code of conduct of any organization. As an employee, that's very important. But trust me, it's people that you are dealing with, it's not machines that you are dealing with. Everyone comes with a different perspective, different mindset. Their questions needs to be answered, they need to be tactfully handled as an HR. because if they do not get the answer to their questions or their concerns appropriately, immediately there is a loss of trust. Immediately there is a loss of trust, that they would realize, okay, this organization is not going to help me, this HR is not going to help me. And you cannot afford any employee who does not trust the organization. They will be in the system, but any first opportunity they will be out of the system. Does it answer the question? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a question that says some people are not just ready to go digital, and I don't know why. Are they afraid that they will be out of jobs with bots in place? They need to upgrade. Thank you so very much for putting this across. Like I said, this is, and you're so true. You are just so true. The brilliant topic that you have picked up, that people are afraid of using bots because they believe if bots will take over their place, their jobs will go. No, that won't happen. Bots cannot perform everything on their own. They still need a human interface. The organization still needs a human interface. Creating bots will not reduce the jobs. Might as well, on the contrary, the people can be utilized for more upskilled jobs, because like I said, the only jobs that can get bought in picture is only which is redundant, repeated in nature. If it is not repeated in nature, bot cannot do it. Bot does not have that intelligence to do the ifs and the buts and the whys or thinking. They can only perform set of activities with logics. That's it. So please be very comfortable that bots will never take your jobs. It can never do. But you remember in when most of the organizations were evolving, when this entire life itself was evolving and computers came into picture, the same hesitance was there. The same hesitance was there that if we will introduce computers in place, it will eradicate human effort. But did it really do that? No, it did not. It rather helped us ease our regular day-to-day jobs. Human intervention can never go out of the picture. Human intervention will always stay there. What's important is that human intervention supported by digitization, because like I said, this is the new way the people will go out. Manual in transactions is not possible. Not possible.
Ma'am, there is another question. As an HR head, how do you handle irate employees?
Patience. If you ask me, I get too many of them. And most of the time, they don't want to talk to anyone in my team except me. I think patience is the and this is what I do when I kind of when my new employees get inducted in the system, whichever organization I am, I do take out 1 hour of me with them, building my connects with them. The second is explaining the code of conduct of each organization that I work with, or a work culture, people work culture that I take sessions on. People will come to you irritated, and that's why I'm saying, as HR, you should always be a solution seeker, a solution seller. If you are not a solution seller, if you have not convinced, there are two ways: either you get convinced or you convince the other. If you get convinced, do an investigation. Let that employee feel that their concerns were heard and you took an action. If you are not convinced, or if you think that this person needs a little more clarity, then give him that big picture clarity. Because most of the time, employees do only see a small part of the entire issue and they don't see the big issue. So then you need to come as a counselor, you need to come as a mentor to be able to tell them that big picture, that where do you fit in and where is your problem. That's the time you are able to convince them. So any irate employee, I think every human individual, as a psychologist, I can tell you, every human individual has a perception. As long you are able to convince those perceptions, or you get convinced and take an action, any one of this, the irritation can be handled very, very maturely. Never enter into any debates, that I am right and you are wrong. No, not always can an HR be right. There are times, hear data, ask for evidences, see what that employee has come on the table with. If there are enough data evidences, then I would rather suggest take a pause, say, I am not taking a decision right now, let me investigate, and then do your best to expedite that investigation, so that you can go back after a week and say, this is what my investigation, that there has been certain findings, I will take certain actions. You don't need to tell that person that what actions have you taken, because of course you do not want that employee to feel, oh, I win, you lose. You don't want to do that. But those investigations that I to detail will give you certain thing to introspect, that where you may have gone wrong, where the other manager may have gone wrong, or what the situation could be handled differently, so on so forth. Yeah, does that answer your question? Thank you, dear. Yes, anger management. You're so right. I see one response coming, that anger management. Yes. Before the employee gets irritated, there are times that as HR we get irritated, because they come with their one query and we come across with 1,000 of queries like this. So there are more chances that we get irritated. So anger management is very, very apt. You are saying patience is very apt, that you need to be able to convince each other's whomsoever you are interacting with. Patience is one key.
Ma'am, it was a very incredible session. Learned a lot.
All right. Any last minute questions? I can still repeat my 7 impactful HR best practices, because you, as an HR practitioner, if not an HR practitioner yourself, if you are working in any organization, some of these things, what in 2022 onwards that an HR fraternity is thinking about is digitization, HRMS, point number 1. Point number 2, focus on employee experience. Point number 3, which is the virtual engagement and retention. Point number 4, strategic data centricity for strategic decision making. Point number 5, the bot implementation to reduce redundancy. Point number 6, internal and external communications. And point number 7, talent curation, a mix of strategies to be followed in any organization. But it's been a great pleasure. I think thank you so very much, Digisaksham, for giving me this opportunity of being on this platform and talking to such a large audience. It's been a fantastic one. Yes, thank you for the heads up. Thank you. I think this is all I had to say, that if you are an HR practitioner, you should know what's going in the industry now. Leverage social media to reach out to your employees, leverage internal and external communications, work on dashboards, look at data for talent curation, for talent engagement, retention, development. Figure out various strategies that works in your local environment, so that you are able to get more people. Think of something out of box. When I say out of box, is something that has been gone, forgotten. You may want to bring back those strategies again. And do not hesitate. As an HR, I must always say, do not hesitate taking risks. Not every time will you be right, but there will be chances when you are wrong. It will give you immense learning to be right the next time. Take calculated, impactful risks. Do not get stopped that, okay, why should I? Tomorrow I'll be blamed. If you are in HR, you are above all of this. So don't get scared. No reason to be fearful as an HR individual. Work with your managers, take them under them your consensus, work with your management, take them under your consensus, take calculated risks, because that's the time whether you will get to know it will work or not work. If it works, you are legendary. If it does not, trust me, you will be legendary soon, because you are on the right path. Okay, I think this is all I could say, Sambhavna. But it's been a pleasure speaking to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us in this session and enlightening us. It was indeed an incredible session. See you in the next webinar. And before leaving, please fill in the feedback form so that you can receive your certificate.